This is Raising Kings, a space where single mothers raising young Black men come to heal, grow, and lead with power. We're not just raising boys, we're raising kings. Hosted by Jennifer Tolliver, a mother, mentor, and warrior in the fight for generational change. Let's get to work.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Raising Kings, where we empower single African American mothers raising sons to break cycles, build confidence, and raise emotionally intelligent kings. So today's guest, y'all, is someone whose story embodies resilience, faith, and advocacy in the most powerful way. Tiffany Colvin. She's a prolific writer, speaker, and advocate for children with autism. And as an autism mom, I think that's so great. And I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Good? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So she is the author of Your Daily Ticket, God's 31-Day Passport to Living Effectively. And her testimony of faith has been nationally recognized, including in Fighting the Good Fight, published by the Maternal and Child Health Bureau. So she is passionate about affirming our children, especially those with special needs, and helping families counter society's labels with faith, purpose, and love. Tiffany, welcome to Raising Kings. We're so glad to have you.
Yes, I'm so glad to be here.
Yeah, great. With your beautiful smile, oh my God, you are beaming through the screen.
Oh, thank you. It is my pleasure to be here. I'm so grateful for the opportunity. I mean, you just creating this forum for women to understand that they have the opportunity to disciple tomorrow's future.
Absolutely. So let's get into it, y'all. Tiffany is ready. All right. So you've been described as the epitome of resilience and faith. So can you take us back to your story? So what were the turning points, that kind of shaped your journey?
So the turning point for me, I was a single mom. I didn't think I was going to be a single mom again. um, I had been a teenage mother and made it through the struggles of that. Finished high school early, went to night school, day school, went to summer school to be able to graduate early, finished my career, and then I found myself 20 years later. I was again a single mom, but this time it was a little different. I had twin sons who were on the autism spectrum. It took about 8 years of fighting and advocating. As a mom, I had some previous experience with being a special education teacher, and so I had a little bit of background understanding what was to look for the developmental delays, things of that nature. However, you know, as a mom, you have to know that hey, you are your child's greatest advocate. You're the one that's there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Even though that doctor, that teacher, that professional might think that they know your child better than you do, you know that, Jack. So I had to push back a few times, and again, it took 8 years. No child should have to wait 8 years. We know that there are disparities, and a lot of times for our children, typically it takes a little bit longer, especially in our boys. So this program that you have provided is so instrumental in helping moms understand that they are their child's greatest advocate.
Yes, absolutely. That's awesome. And so, reading about you, I know your motto is "Go get God." So, how has that carried you through some of the adversity that you faced, and how can mothers adopt this mindset when raising our sons?
Absolutely. So for me, it was 10 days after my children were born. My mother passed away of colorectal cancer. And
Sorry.
then, thank you. And then a few years later, here I was with my own illness, as well as my children being diagnosed with autism, as well as my mother was diagnosed with 3 colorectal cancer.
Oh,
And I had to go back to my roots of faith. and understanding that there had to be something greater than myself that said, hey, you know what? You've got to pick yourself up, regardless of what's going on. Find the gratitude in each and every day. And I remember going, God, you have put way too much on me. He says he won't give us more than we can bear. But that's okay. Because what it taught me was to trust in him. And now one of my favorite verses is, it was good that I was afflicted, that I might learn your statutes. And so I took that and I understood my mother had always planted the seed of faith. And even in her struggle, to see her exemplify that faith. And I got to see her, even in her last days, give her very best to her family, her community, and exude that faith. And so that's we'll get God. It just reminded me to tell the world that we have to go after everything that God has for us. Use our gifts, our talents. What we might get is a little thing, is a large thing. You know, it's even, I think about the story of the woman with the widow's mite. She had a little bit. If you just have a little bit of a smile, or you just had a little bit of a few minutes to talk to someone who may be in despair, you just might change their life. And so that was so important to me. It was get busy, do what you can. If you can't get out, you physically can't get out, find a group, find a way to. I used to scour the Facebook and say and find people who were down and needed those words of encouragement. Find something small to do in your community to just empower yourself to get up each and every day and know that God has purpose for you. And then to get busy doing what you can. It doesn't matter if it's something small. We had a guy at our church who gave out candy, but I remember him, and I'm speaking about him today. He gave out a bunch of candy. That, right? Everyone went. And so we just have to find those things. And even in raising our children, whether it be they have a special needs or they are a tip child, the thing is this, is we need to empower them. We need to do what our parents did that said, no, we have to train our children in the way that they should. So when they're old, they will depart. And what I love about your forum is this, is that you don't just sit around like others do and say, you know what, go find a man, go find a man. No, we need to be, we are discipling our young men so that they know who they are, and so that we can be them so they can be the best opportunity and the best man available out there for the next generation of women.
Yes, absolutely. I'm glad you see me and what I'm trying to do. I really appreciate that. And you said a lot, but really about when you mentioned God won't give us more than we can bear. And a lot of the times, God sees that we can bear more than we think we can. So we're like, come on, God, this is too much. But He can see our actual potential. We got a lot of emotion and grief mixed in there. So, yeah, that's really good. God knows exactly what we can handle, not what we think we can. So I really like that. That's great.
Yes.
And so go ahead. Yeah.
I was going to say, and he that out of us a lot of times in those situations. Like, oh God, take me from me. Stop from me. And we're like, I'm like, no, you can handle this.
You got it. Check back next month. Yeah. Okay. So you are a very powerful advocate for children with autism in the African American community. So why is it so important to affirm our children with special needs? I know you just went over a little bit about this, but especially when the society that we live in, they try to place like so many labels on them.
Yes. The thing about it is this, is that we know that there are disparities within the healthcare system. We also know that with autism, 1 in about 41 children are actually diagnosed. So you think about it, how many kids you might see out in a pool, but sometimes they're not diagnosed. And you think about in our community, we all had someone in our family that had some type of disability, and it was taboo. It was like, oh, they have, they're touched, I used to say, or they're Oh, they're retarded, or they use derogatory terms because they didn't know. Well, now we have the ability, we have the technology to find out, get a proper diagnosis, and then learn how to care for that child. And it's so important to do it as soon as possible so that we can get access to the correct therapies, get whether that be speech or occupational therapies or just different modalities that will help them thrive and succeed. I don't believe that a label of a disability is dismantling in a child's life. I believe that it's empowering, and when we can find examples and we can say, so Isaac, Leonardo da Vinci, they had autism, but look at what they did. And people with disabilities, such as Mike Tyson, look where he went. And so the thing is that we can show those examples and we can and spin it and say, you know what, you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. And I told my sons that I taught them when they were little, I said, you can do, and they will repeat all things. Doesn't mean some things, all things. And so it is so important that we don't minimize or diminish them. Oh, they have the opportunity to do things that are extraordinary. Child with a disability has rich thing that they are. It might be knowing all the statistics about sports. We need to empower them to find that thing that's important to them and go after that vocation. And that is so important. And mothers, that we don't just throw them to the side and say, you know what, you can be the bagger at the grocery store. No, there's so much room that God has for you.
Yes, absolutely. 'Cause I don't really like hearing when people say it's a disability because I'm like, to me, it's a super ability. Like, my son is way smarter than I can ever imagine being. Like, he's a genius. He doesn't have to worry about the societal pressures that I have to worry about. He doesn't care. He's in his own world being himself. That's like a super ability. And so, yeah, definitely.
Yes. And I could see him just light up when you talk, because that's how I am with my sons. In fact, it is just such a pleasure. And I say, you know what, God, I thank you for the blessing that you gave me and the opportunity to parent this child. Because the thing about it is this, is that they teach me something every day. You know, they teach me to be patient. They teach me to learn how to speak in a way that they can understand. And it helps with your ability to interface with other people in the world and understanding the sensitivities, understanding the proclivities that come with community, you know. And so I am so grateful for the opportunity.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm grateful you're here. So, pick your brain a little bit. So, what advice do you have for mothers raising sons on the spectrum who may kind of feel like unseen, overwhelmed, and not know, what the next step should be?
Yes. Yes. I've seen the first thing is to give yourself grace. You know, give yourself grace. And one thing I have to learn is that sometimes we understand that getting the diagnosis requires us to grieve loss, because sometimes we have to grieve the things that what we thought life was going to be like. And then we have to, and once we grieve that and we put that to bed, then we can empower ourselves and empower our children. And one thing I had to do was I had to kind of take control of things in some way. I said, you know what? If I can't get the therapies that I need, then you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do it myself. And we had 2 hours a day, every day after school. My children hated me, but this 2 hours, we called it mommy work. And what we would do is we work on things that they couldn't read. So they weren't doing well reading, they were doing well writing. And so it was, okay, let's sit down, let's work on these things. I found different supports on the internet or whatever I could to help reinforce or teach and reteach the items that they were learning, the concepts they were learning in school. The other thing was I had to learn that, hey, I am not superwoman. We live in a culture where, as African American women, we are taught that, hey, you can do it all. Well, guess what? I had to understand that I couldn't do it all on my own. And I had to find a village. And I didn't have, my mother had passed away, my father had passed away. I didn't have a whole family to help me. But what I had to do was understand that one day I said, Lord, I need help. And that was the prayer. I needed help. And then I began to look at resources, look at, and God began to send me people that began to help me with the things that I didn't understand. And what I learned from that is that what I think I wanted to disseminate to other people and other moms. So now I have moms call me from all over the United States that have issues. If anybody needs anything, I'm trying to tell them, hey, this is how you get this, and this is what you need to look for. And my motto now is, if you suspect something, say something. Because a lot of times as mothers, we see something, we push it to the side. But if we see something, we have to say something to our practitioners and get someone else on board. Can look and really diagnose and do the thing we've done to care for our children.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I really think you should run all the way with the mommy work thing. That's really good because I believe in a lot of community building, and nobody knows our children better than we do. So if we can implement something like that for all moms, some type of structured plan we can have at home, because they don't give us anything really to do to help our children at home. We just cart them off, to their occupational therapist and their speech therapist. And then if your child is, well, I say pre-verbal because he might talk. I don't want to put non on there.
That's right.
He says McDonald's, he says toy, but yeah. So since he's pre-verbal, especially, you just send them off. You're not sure if there's any work being really done. Is there progress besides what they're telling you? I know you can tell sometimes with your child at home if there's progress being made, but doing it at home as a mom and being equipped with that knowledge to help your own child, and then being able to fact check the teachers who are also overworked and overwhelmed. But at the same time, you have to be that parent that's like, okay, well, not my child. With my child, you're going to act accordingly. I know you're tired, but hey, So, yeah, I really think if you haven't already ran with it, you might have a book about it already, but we really need that mommy work aspect. That's awesome. Yeah.
Yes. And it's simple. I used to say this, even just dedicating, and I know it's difficult as moms, as dads, because the struggle is real. and so and so the thing is just start with 10, 20 minutes that your child is going to you're going to dedicate to spending time, just 20 minutes of reading. One small thing that can help is letting them, if they're going to watch, turn on the captions so that they can see those words and hear those sounds. Those things will just, they do wonders. And like you said, they're pre-verbal. One thing I had to learn sign language so that my sons could talk and say, I want more. And we learned a few words, and that's how we start. And so all it is just starting and being consistent. Children on the spectrum love routine. So we had a little board, and every day we did the same thing. And then at the end of the day, oh, this playtime is yours. This is your free time.
Yep.
And they cut down the tantrums, those things, because they knew what was done. And they're now almost 15 years old, and we still have a routine.
Yeah, that's so awesome. And another thing is you have to, with my other two kids who aren't on the spectrum, it's one thing to spend quality time with them, but with my son who's on the spectrum, it has to be quality time. Like, ain't no on your phone and being distracted. You have to go into their world to actually, and they know, what's going on if you're really there present with them or not. So you actually have to get down into their world to really experience and spend that quality time with them. So I love that.
Yes. And then you have to remember to take time for yourself, because as caregivers, you are the first line of defense. You are the one that is going to protect and take care of that child. And we want you here as long as possible. Give yourself grace to take a break, to ask for help. If you don't know where to get help, there are resources available. And so we need to know how to access those. We need to know how to just simply ask a friend, hey, you know what? I need a minute. I need a minute. And they say that 8 minutes, most people need 8 minutes of someone just listening, actively listening to them so that they can release all of the stress because caregiving is very stressful. And so I know that journey. And so I just want to encourage every woman, every man out there that feel like they can't make it, that you can make it through. It says, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. And what I learned is that word through, you are walking through it day by day. You just give yourself daily bread. Understand that. Some days the miracle is that you got up and cooked dinner.
You took a step.
It's those small miracles that sometimes we're looking for the big thing, but the small miracles is your child saying, "Hi, mommy."
Mhm.
And one of the great words I've ever had is one of my friends who had a nonverbal child, and I kept saying, he's going to talk, he's going to talk, he's going to talk.
Mhm.
And he called me and he says, my son said the word. And so hold on to faith. And I just believe, I love what you said. They're pre-talk, they're pre-communicate. Because one day they just read verse open and began to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so you often speak about countering societal labels with faith. So how can mothers practically do this? Add faith into their what they're dealing with, not just for their children, but also for themselves.
Yes. There's a verse that says, faith is the evidence of things hoped for. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. And so we sit down in chairs that hey, we don't know if it's going to work or not. We have to do the same thing with our faith. We have to begin to build that muscle. It's just like if we were, going to become bodybuilders. How do we strengthen ourselves daily? And one thing I did is I remember not being able, I have my own disability. I ended up with a chronic illness. And I remember I could not even get up out of the bed to hardly care for my children. But the thing was this, I remember laying there and I would just say, God, I thank you for today. And I thank you that I can get up and what I can do today. And I began to change or renew my mind daily and say, you know what am I grateful for? My sons may not be able to read the whole text, but you know what? They're reading better. And it's speaking those positive things over ourselves and our children and our situation because it began to lift my spirit. And I began to look at, you know what? I will read the Bible with them. And what was crazy to me is they couldn't read some things at school, but when they would read the Bible, they would kind of read it more fluently. And I was like, oh my God. Or I would ask them, well, what does that mean? And so it's just been a beautiful experience for me to learn from them and them to learn from me and me to understand I have value in their lives and they have value in my life. And so we cannot let the enemy get in our heads and say, oh, you didn't do this right. This is your fault. It's not your fault. God has fearfully and wonderfully made them the way that He wanted them to be. And there was something special about you that He allowed you to be the recipient of that child.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's definitely a job that not everybody is equipped to do in this lifetime or in their current lifetime.
That's right.
Yeah, so yeah,
That's
definitely.
right. That's right. That's right. And if you can do it with a smile on your face, because I always say that there is purpose in our pain. It's never about just us. There is someone looking at Jennifer and Tiffany and looking at all these other people and saying, well, you know what? If they can make it through it, I can make it through it.
Yep, absolutely. Definitely. Okay, so your devotional, your daily ticket, helps readers live effectively. So how can moms raising sons apply the principles for daily ticket to their daily lives?
So this book was birthed out of my own challenges in life. Like I said, I went through my own physical struggle, having my sons on the autism spectrum, taking care of my mother, and all of the challenges that I had to deal with, dealing with loss, dealing with you're looking for the right median for your life. And I said, you know what, God, you keep giving me these sermons. I was actually teaching virtually a woman's Bible study, and he just kept giving me these things. And out of that, I was like, well, I'm not going to get up and be the minister in front of the pulpit. But he started to download these things to me, and so that's where the book came out of. Is to encourage other people in their daily life to understand that with a ticket, you get validated, and God validates us each and every day. And He says, you know what? I have a place for you to go. He knows the plans for you. So this was to help them each and every day go into find something to read, something that they could look at, and each and every day, like break read one devotional a day, and then at the end there are prayers that they can incorporate into their daily life, praying over our church, praying over our future, praying over things that we handle, the burdens that we cannot handle, that we cast upon Him. Because sometimes we want to be DC divers and we want to go grab it back, that problem. We have to be able to just rest in Him.
Yes, absolutely. So, if you can give one word of encouragement to every mom listening right now, I know you didn't give a million words of encouragement through this podcast, but if you can pick just one, what would it be?
It would be to know that you are doing everything that you can do, that I am proud of you, that if no one else has ever told you that we are proud of you, we are just so grateful that you decided to be a parent, because there's so many people who make a different decision. You gave your child life, you gave them abundant life, and one person's abundant life or one person's success might look different, but you know what, the thing is that you are the one that is there, that is discipling that child. And one day God is going to ask, what did you do with what I gave you? And hopefully He will be able to say that you've done a great job with what you are doing. Don't ever feel discouraged or down. Say, you know what? I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, knowing that you are the best gift to your child and they are the better gift.
Absolutely. I love that. I felt that for myself.
And I told you all knew that.
Yes, and I love that you said it's a choice, because it definitely is. That's
Yes.
how you have so many children that go undiagnosed, because
Yes.
you have to make the conscious decision to have your child diagnosed and then carry out the responsibilities of that. So it definitely is a choice. So
Yes,
I'm glad you
and
said
that is so good. That is so good that you said that, because I always say it this way. If your child had a toothache, you would take them to the dentist. But a lot of times we may suspect something, we may think something is wrong, and we will just pass it up and say, oh, well, he'll grow out of that. He'll grow out of that. No, as quickly as we can get treatment is the best outcome for that child. And if you can't get treatment, there are ways for you to do things. You get things on the internet. Look, Google it. It's, hey, what can I do? How can I help them if they're not talking? Give them a suck, because that helps build the the formation of the mouth and them being able to speak. So
Yeah.
do what you can. Do what you can.
Yes, absolutely. That's awesome. And I think reversing the stigma, if more people come out, will help also, because you also have parents who teachers come to them and say with their suspicions of autism, they're like, not my baby, because they're feeding into the negative stigma that they have on our children. But if we can reverse that to where it's like, what, my kid has autism? Yes, like,
Yes.
like you'd be excited about that. But yeah, that would definitely help too. And the work you're doing is definitely doing that. So I'm so excited about that also. All right, let me go on and wrap it up so I can go get my babies. But so yeah, thank you so much for blessing us today with all of your wisdom, your beauty, your faith, your devotion, all of that. Advocacy, I only see that I leave anything out. But for those who are listening right now, you can connect with Tiffany on Facebook, and that's Tiffany Colvin 75. And I'm going to put the everything in the description. And then, yes, grab her book, Your Daily Ticket, God's 31-Day Passport to Living Effectively, which is on Amazon. And I will definitely put the link in the description as well. And do you have any other projects that we should know about right now, or anything else you want to say, or just anything you can give to us? We love you already.
I want to applaud you because in today's society, so many mothers feel as if they have no purpose. And our greatest purpose as mothers is to disciple and train up our children. We live in a society where we applaud being the boss lady, the boss chick, but what is most important, and one thing that I changed this verse, it says, what does it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose his own soul? And I said, what does it profit us as parents for us to climb the ladders of life and our children not be able to read or write or to become successful adults? So I thank you for what you're doing and raising things and making sure the next generation has men that are appropriate for our young ladies. So I thank you so much for all you're doing, because I know it's not an easy task. So I do.
Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate that. I felt that in my heart. Thank you for saying that. So, everybody, this is why we do crown work. When we affirm ourselves and our children, we don't just raise boys, we raise kings. So thank you so much, Tiffany, for being here with us. Everybody go get the devotional book so you can walk through the shadow of death, through that valley with your daily bread every day. Thank you so much, Tiffany.
Yes, thank you all.
Yeah.
And go get God.
That's right. Go get God.